I want to welcome you all to what I hope to be the first of many youth town hall conversations. I am here before you, albeit virtually, like many of you, completely heartbroken that we have lost another member of our community, this time a young girl, 16 years old, Ma'Khia Bryant. It's timely that we had this conversation already scheduled with members of our community that represent students from all across Columbus. And we had conversations this morning about whether or not we should postpone the conversation. But I think it's important that we provide our students with an opportunity, our young people with an opportunity to express how they feel, whether it's disappointment at us as legislators, as school board members, as police officers. We want to provide that opportunity and that platform for that conversation to be held tonight. And so we had an agenda planned, an agenda that had been set by our youth, conversations, topics that are important to you all. But it's incredibly important for me and my colleagues to provide space for grieving. And so with that, I'm going to allow my colleague, Councilmember Elizabeth Brown, to say a few remarks, and then we are going to take a moment of silence in honor of Ms. Bryant. Councilmember.
Thank you, Councilmember Favor. I join you in feeling heartbroken and sickened that we are grieving Ma'Khia today. And we know that she should have gotten up and gone to school today like she has every other day. I'm grateful for this time to be with all of you who've taken time out of your day, a day that's probably very heavy with grief. I'm really grateful to be here with all of you, to be able to listen, to be able to understand how we can better support you. We are your council members. I think too often we talk about our youth as our future and we forget that you're our present, that you are part of what makes our city what it is, and it is on all of us to safeguard your health and your futures. So in Ma'Khia's honor, I am very grateful to be with all of you tonight. Thank you, Councilmember Favor, for convening this, and I'm very glad to be a part of it. Thank you.
Let me please acknowledge, take an opportunity to acknowledge Council President Harden, as well as Councilmember Tyson, and provide them an opportunity to just say anything they would like at this moment.
To Councilmember President Pro Tem Brown, and to Councilmember Favor, and to all the young people that are with us this afternoon. This has become now a sacred space for us to come together to recognize that, or to make a recommitment that we have your back. And over again, we fail you guys, and it's just the truth. But we are here. So we're here to hear your voices and to elevate you and all the positive things that you bring to our city. So I'm grateful for this moment. I'm grateful for my colleagues for convening us, and I'm grateful for you.
Thank you, Councilmember Favor, also Councilmember Brown, for President Pro Tem Brown for hosting this event this evening. And again, just to the young people that are on the call today. Just appreciate you being here. I'm here to listen to what your issues and concerns are and how we can make our city a better place for each and every one of you. And two, I am certainly grieving for the family of Miss Bryant, her family and friends. I send prayers to them as they grieve an amazing life. Her dreams are deferred. Dreams deferred because of this tragic loss. So again, we honor her by allowing your voices to be heard and how we and make our city a better place for all. Thank you very much, Councilmember Favor.
Thank you. And students, I'd also like you to know that we've been joined tonight by two members from your Columbus School Board, Dr. Tina Pierce, as well as Ms. Carol Beckerly. Ladies, would you like to address the students this evening?
I just have to echo everybody else's sentiments, and I concur with the honesty and the joint sorrow that we're all feeling. And I am grateful that we have this space and this time, and I'm glad that we're still here together, and I hope it's the beginning of many conversations.
I too want to echo everyone's statements. I also want to state that our hearts are heavy, not just for the Bryant family, for Trayvon's family as well, for all the young people in our community. This conversation is long overdue. I am committed to continuing the conversation and including you all as directors of that conversation. So I look forward to hearing from you all tonight, and you have my commitment that working collaboratively with not just my colleagues, but with all of our community stakeholders, that we will do a better job to provide you all with the resources, with the environment that you all need to be safe and to be successful.
Thank you. And we've also been joined by School Board member Ramona Reyes. Ms. Reyes.
Good afternoon. I am also committed, as Dr. Pierce has just mentioned. We were in our school board meeting last night when we were made aware of what was going on. We are at a loss for words, but we are not at a loss for action. So we're here to hear, listen, and take everything that our students and our community would like to say, and we're ready to meet and make sure that we provide those safe environments for our students, and also provide the social emotional resources from the district. So thank you for the opportunity to join today.
Thank you. We're going to take a moment of silence in honor of Ms. Bryant, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Terry Green, who's going to facilitate the conversation. And I cannot stress enough that this is not a moment for us to grandstand. This is all about you and whatever we can provide to assist you through this moment of grief. There is nothing that can be said tonight that will lessen the pain, that will bring Ms. Bryant back. But we can provide a space for honest conversation. And with that, let's take a moment of silence in honor of Ms. Bryant. Thank you. Mr. Green?
Good afternoon. I truly appreciate to be the moderator for this conversation. We know it's a very stimulating conversation to have when we talk about
Mr. Green?
television.
I'm from the mayor's house.
Mr. Green, I think we're getting some bad feedback here. Are you all hearing that? Okay.
Yes, Mr. Green, how are you connecting? Is it by phone?
No,
Okay, one of the mics, it's either your computer mic or maybe your cell phone mic. One needs to be turned off or muted, rather. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're still getting the echo. I do apologize. Give me 1 second. I'm going to check one more thing. Okay. Would you like to test again? Can you just say testing?
Testing. My phone is.
Are you using your phone as your mic? Did you call in? No. Can you, Mark, are you able to contribute here to assist in any way?
I would recommend having him turn the speaker volume down on his cell phone or on his device, because that's what the feedback loop is causing.
Can you hear me better?
Yes, the echo is decreased.
I think that's what it was. So I appreciate you all for being here today for this timely discussion with youth being affected by police brutality, COVID-19, and gun violence, and also mental health. My name again is Terry Green. I am the founder and executive director of Think, Make, Live Youth, a nonprofit organization that works with young people through mentorship and innovative leadership programs right here in Central Ohio. As we know, with this conversation being very important and with the tragedy we experienced yesterday, this is the time where we open up a space for our young people to be able to share out, how they're feeling and during this time, being able to be, vulnerable and being able to share out, how, they want help. In terms of mental health support, in terms of support through this pandemic. And it's truly a blessing for us to have Javier Sanchez and the Reach company that's on to be able to support the young people throughout this conversation. Javier, I know the awesome work that you do with young people and that you've been doing over the years right here in Central Ohio. And I commend you for the work that you've done. And so where we are now is like, as we, talking about this deep conversation about Miss Bryant and about youth violence and about the challenges that we're going through, we really want to open up, to have this space of a check-in from our young people. So, right now, for some of those young people, I don't know how we raise your hand or if you want to, speak up. This is the time for you can be able to check in with us. And during the check-in, we're asking you to, just tell us, one, how you feeling, and what do you hope to achieve out of today? What do you hope to achieve out of having this conversation about the changes that you want to see? I think I have a first hand raised. Is that Peterson? Is it Brian?
It's Bryn Patterson. Hello? Can you see me? Bryn Patterson? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, just making sure. Yeah. Okay. Hi, my name is Bryn Patterson, and I go to KIP. And thinking about everything that's happened within the last 24 hours, it's been a very depressing reality. The fact that we got some inkling of quote-unquote justice with George Floyd just to have a youth who could have been any one of us murdered is a very cruel thing to witness and go through. And with a question with how I'm feeling, like I feel okay, but I know that my peers don't feel okay. And one thing I really appreciated is that my school, we were able to wear all black as a form of kind of a protest to stand up for the injustices that we are seeing in our community. And we were also able to have a sit-in in the gym during lunch, and we were also able to have many candid conversations about what happened and what kind of support we need. And echoing the topics that we have, I think that mental health is a really huge, crucial aspect of all of this, because this is damaging to my peers' psyches. Like, we're literally watching live lynchings and traumatic events of black bodies being murdered. And it's hard, and it's especially hard because, yeah, I mean, it's just so devastating and damaging to our psyches, and seeing people like us murdered almost every day. And I wanted to say that, yeah, it's hard because there's so many questions and there's so many things we need to do, but it's kind of hard to figure out where to start. But yeah, I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. I appreciate you for being open. Is there anyone else that want to check in with us?
Hi, my name is Mustafa. I'm an 8th grader at Metro Early College High School. To be honest, if I'm going to be honest about my feelings, I don't really feel like I feel anything. It's something that's very much expected. It's just how it is, to be honest. It's stuff that happens. But things I want to see is having those uncomfortable conversations and being able to speak with those people who are in positions to make change, and just being open with them and having these conversations and stuff. But yeah.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Go ahead.
How you doing, everybody? My name is Damian Jones from the Legacy Youth Program. Really just how I feel. I just feel like mentally, like, everybody has been affected by these kids from starting from just a year ago, where school got canceled in like a week, and then going through this whole pandemic thing and online schooling, everybody's been affected. And since there's no going to school, teens feel like they have nothing else to do but fight and shoot each other, because there really isn't anything else to do. And I just really feel like that should stop, because it's really affecting us, and a lot of our young teens are getting involved in this type of stuff, which really don't need to get involved in. And then last night, I had one of my friends that I used to play football with was in an incident yesterday, and it really kind of made me sad a little bit, because we could all do better and stuff like that. So I just feel affected by that, mentally.
How you doing? My name's Landon Steele. I'm from Columbus Afrocentric. And one of the things that I'm really hoping to get out of this conversation is, one, a better understanding of what it is that police officers, and I don't know if anybody's on the call who can answer my question, but a better understanding of what it is police officers have to go through to become a police officer. Because as situations happen day by day, and we see things on the news that police officers have done to people of color, to minorities, to children, 15-year-old children, young children, it's as if the training that I believe that I would say has to be hard, because of the fact being a police officer is a hard job in itself. It's like as if the training goes out the window. It's like in that split second of when they react, thought goes out the window. They don't question what they do. It's as if it's, to me, it's as if they're taught to use the gun first, not use the taser, not use any mace. It's as if they always go towards the gun. So out of this conversation, I want to get a better understanding of why is it that the police officers that are supposed to protect and serve us act as if they're scared of us? And if that's the case, why is it that they even made it so far to become a police officer in the first place? And yeah.
Mr. That was a good question.
I think Ms. Patterson has her hand raised.
Yeah, sorry. Echoing with what you, Damian and Landon said, I just want to bring up that as long we had this conversation in school, and really it doesn't matter how much de-escalating training police go through, because if they have a gun, they're going to automatically use that weapon first. And I think that's what it seems like. And I just want to say, like, everyone else knows how to de-escalate. And like, oh my gosh, sorry. Okay, sorry. Our teachers know how to de-escalate fights in schools. We know how to de-escalate situations if we had a friend who was suicidal or going through a crisis. And the thing is, because our teachers and normal civilians do not have weapons that can harm people, they know how to de-escalate situations because they don't have that option. But it seems like with police, they have that immediate option to immediately neutralize the situation, which could end in death. And that's a big part of it, that they do have this de-escalation training, but that all goes out the window when there is a situation or a crisis. And with what Landon was saying, I want to echo that the police do not have a constitutional duty to protect us. The Supreme Court case in 2005, the town of Castle Rock versus Gonzalez, ruled that police do not have a constitutional duty to protect and serve. So that's something that we can start with right there, because this was a court case that happened 15 years ago that not too many people know about. But the Supreme Court ruled that police do not have a constitutional duty to protect and serve us or you. And that's something that is very sobering, seeing as how we're treated, how people are treated by the police and police brutality. And I wanted to bring that up as something that's very baffling.
Yeah.
Mr. Daniel, go ahead.
What was just said? Yeah, I definitely agree with Landon and with before me has just spoken.
Hold on really quick, Daniel. Mr. Green, you might have to mute your line.
Okay. Yeah, I think that a big problem is that a lot of the jobs that policemen have generally do not require like guns. They don't require weaponry. You don't need a gun to pull somebody over for a parking ticket. You don't need a gun to pull somebody over for speeding. You don't need a gun to stop a 16-year-old girl from being jumped. You don't need a gun for any of that. You don't need a gun for somebody who has their air freshener in the back of their car. That does not require guns. Many of the jobs that we have policemen doing right now they do not require arms. And the next person says, oh, they're going to do it to defend themselves. Oh, they need guns, so just in case somebody's going to shoot at them. Well, if somebody shoots at them, that means that the person is currently afraid of the police, whether that be because they have a warrant out for their arrest and they're afraid of being arrested, or they are generally afraid that they will be killed, like we saw in the case of the lieutenant about a week or 2 weeks ago, where although he handled it very well, he stated in the video that he was genuinely afraid of being, he's genuinely afraid. And the officer responded that he should be. It's cases like that where you understand why people will start having that fear of officers. And the officer who has the power and forms a ring of weapons around his waist that doesn't sit well with me personally. Saw the Adam Toledo video also a week ago. And it's things like that. Somebody doesn't need to have, if the true job of an officer was just to keep peace in our community, if that was the job, if that was what they were supposed to do, they wouldn't be the ones walking around with arms.
Hi, I have a really quick question towards council members. I just want to ask, what are policies and legislations that you guys are putting in place to help protect young minorities and teens like us?
Sorry, I could not get my mute button off. I know that you all aren't rushing to pay attention to what's happening Monday nights on council. But since the murder of George Floyd last summer, Columbus City Council engaged in an effort to reimagine public safety. And we held hours upon hours of public hearings, conversations with residents, emails, testimonies. And from those conversations and record time, we passed legislation to limit no-knock warrants in response to what we saw with Breonna Taylor. We passed legislation that would prohibit officers to affiliate with any hate groups. We passed legislation led by Councilmember Brown around demilitarizing our police force. We have also overwhelmingly, this past November, Columbus residents had the opportunity to vote whether or not to change our Columbus City Charter, which is basically our constitution, in order to enact a civilian police review board. I'm taken back every time I think about the fact that as we were learning the facts of her untimely death, that we were literally hosting a public hearing last night to talk with the members who have been nominated to serve on the Civilian Police Review Board. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it's civilian police oversight. So residents from our community will have the opportunity to issue subpoena powers. They have subpoena powers. They have the ability to conduct independent investigations. And we were having that conversation last night. Just a few months ago, we engaged in another round of conversations with the community as we talked through what the 2021 budget looked like. And we talked about what are alternative crisis responses that we can implement in Columbus. There are some officers that are crisis trained, and I believe the number is around 50% of our officers are. But thinking about how things could have been different if we would have had a social worker present, or a trained professional, or a school administrator. Someone just acknowledged the fact that our administrators, our teachers, our folks in schools are very adept at de-escalating. So this conversation, the change that has to happen in Columbus, it's far from over. But know tonight that I will continue my efforts to challenge the status quo, to push for progressive policies and change within our police force. And tonight's conversation is really hearing that feedback from you. What are we missing? What are we missing? Councilmember Brown, anything you'd add?
That was a wonderful overview, and I'd just add two things. We established a $10 million fund to complement our reimagining public safety efforts. Some things to do public safety differently in our city don't require money. They're a policy change, but some of them do. And we wanted to make sure that those efforts would be funded, and council is engaged, and we've already spent some of those on violence intervention work to broadly help young people be more safe in our city. But there's more to do, and your voices matter in that process. The fund is not expended. The second thing that I want to highlight is that we are, the administration is engaged in a full-scale audit of our hiring and training practices. And it's very frustrating when we lose a life, and typically a Black life, to hear people talk about training. It feels like not enough. I feel that too. But I also would be lying to you if I didn't think that changing the culture within the police department wasn't important, right? I mean, look, our country was founded on white supremacist ideas. It really was the foundation of this country. I mean, think about how we took this land. If our country is founded on those ideas, we can be damn sure it's infected every one of our institutions, every one of them, including policing, but additionally, lots of others. And because of that, we have to get serious about changing internal cultures, because white supremacist culture also teaches us that white children are regarded as children and Black children are regarded as threats far too often. This is cultural. And until we get serious about auditing, truly taking a hard look at our own department that we employ, we can't get over what the culture has imposed on, again, all institutions, but including policing. And I think that's an important one to highlight, because there's accountability there, that we can come back to the community and talk about steps forward. So between what Councilmember Favor said and I just said, you can hear that there is a lot going on, and I hope that it doesn't just make your head swim with almost too much, but the problem is so multifaceted that we've got to take it on from every angle.
Thank you,
If it's
Councilman.
okay, could I also add something, Councilmember Favor and Brown? I also want to add that this change, this transformation that needs to take place has to be balanced. It has to be a multidisciplinary approach, a holistic approach. And so as our city council members are doing the work that is needed to change the culture of our policing institution in the city of Columbus, we as a board need to work collaboratively with them to ensure that when police officers do come to our schools, do interact with our students, that we're providing resources, information, so the police officers are aware of our students' cultures, of the communities and neighborhoods that they're entering into, that they're aware of techniques that can be used to de-escalate situations with children. I think when we talk about the adultification of young people, that's very real for our Black females. I am the mother of a young female who, by all visual aspects, looks like an adult. And I cry because that's not unique, the fact that she looks like an adult. The issue is that we put that adult verbiage and language on them. We do not allow you all to be children. And so in that respect, we have to do this together. School board has to work with our city council members to ensure that we both are moving in a forward direction to be able to create those policies and those environments in which our officers know how to approach students.
Thank you, Dr. Pierce. And I also want to allow Councilmember Tyson to say a few words to Mr. Osmond's question, because she did this important work studying the life of Black girls in Columbus, Ohio, the Commission on Black Girls. So Councilmember Tyson?
Thank you, Councilmember Favor. I just wanted to mention just really two things. Yes, one, the Commission on Black Girls, where this community spent over 2 years focusing on girls 11 to 22 to understand their current quality of life and how can we work with our girls to enhance that quality of life. And that work continues to this day. And even after this meeting, I have a meeting that will be focusing on Black girls based upon the tragic killing of Miss Bryant, and what do we need to continue to do to support Black girls during this period and beyond to enhance their overall quality of life. Also, to answer the question, we also, as this body, we continue to spend dollars to support our young people in the community that focuses on their, human services. And so just the organization that we're even speak, that's even Mr. Green that's here today, that have gotten funded through the City of Columbus to be able to work with young people in the community to give them a voice, to share their voice with us, and to so that we can continue to help to move their lives forward. So we support a lot of nonprofits, and part of that reimagining public safety, we have spent $3 million this year already to support that. And lastly, I want to say that we also recognize at this body that racism does exist. So this council passed a legislation last year that says racism is a public health crisis, and racism exists in every aspect of our work. And we are not shocked. We're saying it certainly is over in our police department, but it's in every aspect of when you think about our city, where it lies. And so we are also focused on policies that the city can move forward to policies that have continued to hold black and brown people down, to try to have new policies to move black and brown people forward. So thank you, Councilmember Favor.
Thank you all for answering my question.
Thank you all for engaging into the open discussion. And thank you, our council members and our school board, for answering that question. Moving forward with the agenda, you have one more thing you want to say, Ms. Patterson? Ms. Patterson?
It's okay. I can wait for.
Okay. Are you sure? The space is open. If it relates to now, go ahead.
Well, what was your next point going to be that you're going to talk about?
Well, the next thing I was going to do is I was actually introducing our mental health specialist nationwide, and Javier, to kind of dive into the discussion. But if you want to kind of, piggyback off of what was just said, that would be awesome.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to talk about mental health specifically too. And I just want to say that there are a lot of things that we've done in how we advocate for mental health in our students. Specifically in school, there is a lot of work to do with how much value we place on academic interests, but we don't place as much value on our youth's health and our teachers' health too. Mental health, I mean. And I just want to say that we need to have some kind of mental health initiative where we have more social workers in schools, where we are able to try to have low cost therapy resources for kids who are struggling, where we can have more suicide prevention programs, and where we can have that space to let kids know that their life does matter. And I wanted to say, like, I already have a few ideas of how we could do that, but I just want to say that mental health is so important, and it's the third or second leading cause of death in young adults, in young kids 10 to 24, and we need to change that. And in schools, in our communities especially, we need to stop being so scared to talk about mental health. I know, I know how sometimes that can be triggering to people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we need to talk about mental health, and not just mental health, not just mental health in the part that makes us uncomfortable. We need to talk about the uncomfortable parts too, like disorders that are stigmatized. Like, we need to talk about schizophrenia and bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder. And I wanted to say that. And yeah, and I have a personal anecdote that I wanted to share. So I'm going to be really vulnerable with everyone right now. Like, a few years ago, I never thought that I would make it to where I am now, because I always had it in my mind that I was going to die young, because I used to be extremely suicidal, and I used to always think that before I turned 18, I was going to complete suicide. And even as recently as 2020, I had a suicide attempt. And I'm saying this to say that, like, you never really know what somebody is going through, but we need to talk about mental health, and especially with our kids and youth, because although I was able to get the help I needed, I know so many kids who do need that help too. And it's so weird, because a few years ago, I was at a point where I hated life. Like, I didn't know why I was here. I didn't know what my meaning or purpose was. And now I'm finally starting to at least like the life that I live. And I'm finally starting to like the fact that I'm still alive. And I want to make sure every kid has support that they need, and I don't want anybody to ever feel like I felt ever again. And we just need so many more resources for therapy. And I wanted to say lastly that, and it's hard too, because now that I'm in a place where I want to live, it's hard seeing that it almost feels like my life doesn't matter, if that makes sense. Seeing of how Black people are killed too ubiquitously in our country, that does something to your psyche. And I've been okay with coping with that, but I just want to say it's hard for, not only is it hard for Black people who are struggling and Black girls who are struggling because we're supposed to be strong and we're supposed to be these pillars of communities, but it's hard for all of us because, what was I going to say? Sorry. It's hard for all of us because, yeah, if somebody was feeling suicidal and they're Black and then they see kids and young adults who are murdered, that's hard because then you feel like your life doesn't matter too. And I just wanted to say that, yeah, we need to talk about mental health. And I want everyone on this call to know that your life does matter. You do matter. And it gets better, although it doesn't seem like it will. I promise you it gets better and your life does matter.
Yes, Mrs. Peterson, your life matter, and I appreciate you for being vulnerable in this space, and for sharing that with us. And you know, you don't understand like how valuable you are to this conversation, right? The things that you're saying right now, and your openness and the way you're being vulnerable is what we need. And so I appreciate you for, you know, being here with us today, and being open to, you know, speaking about how you feel. Now, I do want to invite, you know, the experts and professionals on mental health to speak. But before that, you know, is there any other young person that want to speak about anything vulnerable to them when it comes to mental health, or what does mental health, how do they feel about the topic of mental health, before we invite the experts to say anything?
Could I say something real quick?
Yes.
Jalen Jackson, from Centennial. I'm a senior, and I feel like as an athlete and a young man in society, it's like our mental health, we're not seen as humans. It's like, since we're athletes, we have to live this perfect life, and we can't ever be sad or anything. It's like we're held to a different kind of standard. Like, it's been sometimes in the past where I've gone to people and they're like, "What do you mean you don't know what it's like to go through stuff or anything like that?" And it's just like, hearing that makes you want to be like, all right, never mind then. I'll just handle it on my own. I feel like as a society, we need to do a better job as making everyone feel comfortable as feeling down or asking for help.
Thank you for that. Any other young person want to speak on?
Oh, so personally, I've lost a friend because he took his own life, and so that's made me really like open about like mental health. And so I agree with what Bryn was saying and Jalen was saying, because I feel like because we're kids, people think that like, oh, you don't have stuff that you're going through, or it's not as important as like if you're older, because apparently like we're not mature or like smart enough to even realize like we might be going through stuff. And so I feel like especially in the Black community, it needs to be more a thing that's talked about, because a lot of people is like, oh, going to talk to somebody, like how is that going to help me or something. And I just feel like me as like a friend, I always invite my friends to talk to me about stuff, because sometimes it is hard to talk to like a stranger about it. So I just feel like just being more vocal about it in all communities, not just like a white community, or like just all races, I feel like need to be more educated on mental health and what it really is, and how some things can be mental health and you just might not realize it.
You, Landon? Is that Landon?
Yeah, Landon.
Landon.
It's to piggyback off of her. One thing I feel like that's not really addressed entirely, like as much as it needs to be in high school, is the mental health, your mental mindset on your like the way that you view yourself. And when I say that, I mean like your confidence about yourself. I feel like when it comes towards a lot of like gun violence or gang activity or somebody trying to live that life, I feel like with me going to Afrocentric and as I look at my peers and even myself at one point in time, a lot of things that was did for out of negativity or a lot of things that were did that were wrong. And once again, to go back to gun violence, a lot of things like a lot of murders or people getting shot, a lot of those things come from the fact that we're just trying to be cool or look hard in front of those around us. Like that's what I feel like goes onto that mental health piece of one, maturity, and then two, like I said, your confidence in yourself. One of those things I feel like is not addressed enough in school is how to be confident in yourself, how to grow in confidence in yourself, and how to always seek confidence in yourself. Because I feel like because of the fact we're in school, they teach us things. We go to lunch, we're around all these friends. All people want to do, like mostly all people that I've seen them want to do is they just want to connect to somebody. They just want to have that period. They want to have friends. They want to, they want to enjoy life. And when it's set out to look at in the schools and all the kids that are usually have a spotlight on them are usually kids, like you said, they got the class clowns, where the class clowns got things going on at home, which make them want to act the way that they do. And then those kids that want to have as much attention as the class clown, they like, well, what are they doing? So that I can end up being like them. One of the things I used to struggle with myself was the confidence I had in myself. So I want to act like a class clown. So what are they doing outside of school that I can do? Are they stealing? Are they doing this, that, and the third? What did they do that made them so cool? So one of those things that I feel like needs to be addressed. And I've thought of ways to address it, but then again, that's where I'm also on this call to learn as a student, what else can I do to where the things that I like, the solutions I think of can be put out there and or put in place in school. But just to wrap up what I'm saying is a lot of things that go on with youth and people around my age and things that I see are sparked because of somebody else. There was somebody on here who said they played with Nasir. I played with him too. Like I said, I go to Afrocentric. I play with him too. And I feel like, and it's not like I can say what was going on in his head, but to know how smart he is and how athletic he is and the potential that he has, and then to know that the decision that he made to take another's life is not one that I feel like was one that was made up in his head by himself. It was one that I feel like was made because of the fact of the confidence he had for himself to be his own person, and also because of the fact of having like outsiders or people around him, which is what helped him to make up that decision in his head. That's what he was going to do. And that's one of those things I feel like is not taught in school, is how to think for ourselves as our own individuals and not let everybody else and everything everybody else does contribute to what we do and cause us to do the things that we do. So that's what I have to say on that.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is getting deep. Okay, we got somebody else. Daniel. Okay.
Well, Landon just made a really good point, and she brought up something that I did want to think about and want to talk about really quickly. The decriminalization of African American students in schools, students in general, but specifically African American students, from kindergarten through senior year of high school, even in college, if you choose to go, that certain students will be criminalized and will be placed in trouble for things that other students would not be. You have the class clown that students designate, the teachers designate as class clowns. Then there are students that teachers designate as lazy. Students that are designated as one thing or the other. From kindergarten, you have the teachers who will write troublemaker on their report cards. And these are like shared experiences. This is not a specific thing. That stuff's it's a rolling snowball. It increases and it adds to traumatic experiences of people in our community. Take the life of arbitrary kindergartner and put them in a spot where they're called a class clown by their teacher, and not taken seriously grade wise. Well, the moment you're in kindergarten, your teacher believes that you don't have the mental capacity to absorb the schoolwork and to be functional in that society. Um, you're not given as much focus as they do. So that feeds into your first grade because now you're already behind. That feeds into your second grade. By the time you get to high school, you're behind the other students. By the time you're in middle school, you have an IEP. You have been behind for a while now. Your teachers continually think that you are stupid because of the fact that you, from a very early age, have been criminalized and have been demonized as a child. That feeds into your high school. I guarantee that every teacher has had a student that they've looked at and thought of negatively, and without considering their home experiences or considering what they had done growing up, or what they have been through growing up, what they've been through in their other classes, and may have led to their choices, or that may have led to their behavior in the classroom. That may have led to why they feel like they might have to do so and so things, that and then them being suspended or expelled from so and so school. That stuff feeds into high school. Now you have kids who are getting there's riots in school, you get suspended, you get expelled, you go to jail, all because of some stuff that started out when you were in kindergarten. You know, that criminalization of children needs to stop. You know, often, and that is something we see more common with African American children, with Caucasian children, that in high schools as well. There are a few high schools in Columbus which are specifically diverse. The high school I go to, I'm a senior at Columbus Alternative High School, is specifically diverse. I know Centennial is diverse as well. With high schools like that, you do have teachers who will treat certain students with more of a favoritism and less of a criminalization than other students. And that sort of implicit bias is what we see in police officers, which is what leads to African Americans being killed at a higher rate. I know me, I'm an African American man, and 1 out of every 1,000 African American men will die, can expect to be killed by the hands of the police. It's our sixth highest killer is police brutality. That for me is somebody who likes to walk a lot, who likes to walk at night a lot, because I think it's very peaceful. It's a scary prospect. Micaiah, she lives down the street from me, across the street. Very sad for me to know, especially as somebody who has been stopped multiple times walking home at night, that this is what it is. I'm a Black guy. I'm going to be criminalized. I'm going to be demonized because of the way I look. If I've another friend of mine, who I will not name, who is white, brown, curly hair, has almost the exact same build as I do, same height. We spend the same amount of time in the gym, but if he's walking at home at night, he'll either be asked if he wants a ride or left alone. That's not the case for me. So that's just what I want to talk about, is that criminalization starts out as a child, and that adds to the traumatic experiences of African Americans as they grow up.
Really quickly, I just want to jump in and say I agree 100% with what Daniel's saying. The school to prison pipeline is real. The criminalization of young Black men and women starts at an early age. Other than that, I want to say thank you, Patterson, for sharing your experience. I'm really proud of you for everything that you have overcome, especially as someone who has gone through things mentally. At the moment, I'm not ready to share my experiences, but you have given me hope to share it in the future.
And I would like to say, my name is Veda Azim, and I'm actually going to be moderating, I think, the second half of this. But and I know some of these topics we were going to touch on a little later, but since you guys brought it up right now, I do want to ask Denisha Washington if she had anything to add to that. She's the Nationwide Children's Hospital specialist who's on the call today. She deals with trauma and grief. So I didn't know if you wanted to add anything to what some of these young men were saying.
Thank you, Vada. I appreciate that. First, let me just say how humbled I am to be invited here today and in this space, and how very humbled I am for the teens really just talking about what's going on in your world. I'm hearing you talk about the compounding trauma, whether that was in the home, whether that was at school, in your community, and even the compounding of the racial trauma. So I really just want to validate that we hear you. And Terry, I know you said earlier, you matter, you all matter. And so I'm just in awe of this time and space with you today. And I just really appreciate you for allowing me to be here. As Vada mentioned, I am with Nationwide Children's Hospital, and our team specifically focuses with children and youth ages 3 to 18 who've experienced some form of trauma, again, community violence at home, and schools as well. And so for us, it really is, the goal, of course, is to help overcome that, but really take a step back is how do we get through it? And you all have been really courageous today to start to put words to some of that, to start to talk about some of the stigma in our communities. And really, those traumatic events, it really is based on your perception of that experience. So while many of you are on here may have similar experiences, you might not feel that in the same way. And so I just want to point that out. That's that really tricky piece around the traumatic events. We don't want to lump everything into one category because each of you are also different and you are going to experience trauma in very different ways. And even what you decide is traumatic for you, right? One thing that you've experienced might not be traumatic to someone else. And so for us, it really is about putting words and feelings and thoughts to those experiences and how they play out in our lives, which could be nightmares, which could be, some of you talked about having close proximity and friendships to those that have been deceased, been murdered as a result of this racial trauma and community violence. And so you might be having some of those symptoms where it's like, who do I talk to? I can't sleep. I'm having these thoughts at school. I was happy to hear that Kip is doing some things as well. And so it really is about how do you tie that perception of what you witnessed, whether indirectly or you heard it or saw it with your experience. And what's true is some of you may need to step out of your current home situation to get that village. Whether it is some adults like that are on this call, or even someone in the church community, someone in a mentoring program. And on top of that, I know, Bryn, you said it beautifully, is how do you link with that mental health professional, right? Because while it's very important to vent and check in with others and find out who your village is, those trusted, safe adults that can support you, which might not reside in the same home with you. And then how do you take it one step further and get linked to those professionally trained counselors and social workers that really can walk through that with you and be that safe support to help you put those words to those experiences. So that one additional piece of that village for you, right? And I think one of you said earlier, and I'm sorry, let's see here, Mustafa, I apologize, where you said, hey, I'm not ready to talk about this right now. And I wholeheartedly respect that, right? And it's not gonna look the same for everyone. It's not the same starting point. But with our program, we really wanna focus on how to get through it. You can't overcome it, and you can't really deal with it until we slowly start to walk through that with whatever that village might look like, whether that's a group, whether that's an individual. Really, our program and at Children's really focuses on how to really pull apart that complex trauma, that compounding trauma that each of you have really shared in your own way. And so that's really a piece that we do in our program and within Children's, to really validate your experiences. That is the first and foremost step, is validating someone. And I can't remember, sorry, I'm looking, you all have had great things to say, and important things to say, really validating that, yes, you're teens, and there's some heavy stuff that you all are dealing with that some adults have never experienced. And we need to really validate that for you all as adults and not forget that you need things, and how can we meet you where you're at. That really is the crux of that trauma treatment, and not about what's wrong with you, but really how do we meet you and forge that to help you understand what has happened to you. So I just want to give that brief piece about our trauma treatment with our program. And hopefully this will be the first of many conversations moving forward.
Thank you, Deborah. Also, I want to go ahead and ask Deborah from CAUSE if she wanted to speak about some things that she wanted to talk about in regards to gun violence. And then after that, I think we should hear from Javier Sanchez, who was introduced a little earlier from Reach Communications, and then we can go from there.
Thank you. I'm just taking in a lot of things right now because as a Black young girl, a teenager, a CCS student, I'm angered, I'm scared, because I feel like we're not safe anywhere. We get killed in our neighborhoods, we get killed at school, we get killed wherever we are. So I just feel like there needs to be some sort of reform starting somewhere. I feel like the system has failed us, has failed our children. This past year I got to learn about Columbus's history and how even like the CCS school district has been formed due to white flight and racism, and how even highways are separating communities. And on one side of the highway, you see a supported economy, a supported school district, and then on the other side, you see people who are not getting funding, children who are being neglected. It makes me frustrated. Like even the past thing that happened with CPD, joy flying over these primary Black neighborhoods makes me angry. And with all the statistics that saying that like 85% of children that Columbus Police Department kills are Black children. So it makes me angry, it makes me scared. I feel like I'm echoing everybody's thoughts. And like everyone said, I'm honestly losing hope for our future, because it seems like nothing is changing. Although we take one step forward, it seems like we're taking 2 steps back. So I just hope that like by the end we finish this call, I gain some more hope for the future of myself and for the other children in our community.
Thank you, thank you, Deborah, for sharing that. And you know, I think a lot of the adults on the call would definitely like to restore some hope in a lot of our young people. So hopefully, once this call is over, we can be at that point. I also want to tap Javier and ask him if he had some things that he wanted to say in regards to what some of you guys were saying.
Yeah, first, Deborah, thank you for sharing your heart. And the first thing I will say is, on a hopeless day like this, the reason I have so much hope is because of you all. My hope is not in one single adult on this call, not even myself, okay? My hope is in you all. Now, having said that, I understand that we as adults have forced you to carry a weight that is far heavier than you deserve to carry. So as one of the adults on this call, I apologize on behalf of us. I also want to, I caught something that Council President Hardin said that I want to honor, and he said, we have failed you. We as adults have failed you, and we apologize for that failure. But we wouldn't be on this call as caring adults in the community if we didn't want to do better, right? We wanted to come to the experts, and that's you. And having said that, what I always say to adults that engage young people, and Council President Hardin and other folks on the call have heard me say this, the worst thing we as adults can do is ask you young people for your opinion and then do nothing with it. So what I want you to know is that as a community resident, I will hold your representatives' feet to the fire to ensure that this is not just an exercise or a good photo op or a chance for you all just to vent with no results. And I know many of the adults on the call, and so I believe I'm in good company. I believe you all are amongst a village of caring adults that want to see your lives and your life experiences elevate. I've been taking a lot of notes as I've listened to you all, so bear with me. The one thing I will say is don't wait for us as adults, young people. Do not wait for the cavalry. If when it comes to system change, policy change, program change, systems, policies, and programs, as Deborah noted, they will fail you, and they unfortunately will continue to do so. You cannot fail yourself, though. The work that we do in a lot of cities across the country and that we're working on bringing here to Columbus, where I'm normally when I speak in Columbus, I introduce myself as a proud product of Columbus and Columbus City Schools. This is the city that made me. Today, I would say I'm a product, for better or worse. I have more proud days than I do not so proud days, but this is one of those days where it's hard for me to say I'm a proud product, and I can say I'm a product of this city for better or for worse. One of the things that we share and teach young people is, and I just want to give you a tool because we don't have much to offer in this moment, but I do want to give you a tool that you can use to take care of yourself and support yourself in this moment and in moments to come, because this may not be the last moment of crisis that we all experience, and we'd be foolish to think that it is. And we started sharing this tool with young people a few years ago as we do work with young people that we call helping them build a wellness ecosystem. And one of the simple things that we need to learn or relearn is how to breathe. When life takes your breath away, you have to take your breath back. We all, at 4:30 or 5 o'clock, we all thought we caught our breath when we heard that conviction come down. And then our breath was snatched away from us shortly thereafter when what happened showed up on the news. And when life takes your breath away, you have to take your breath back and literally remember to breathe. Breathing is essential for life. It's also essential to calm us down, to recalibrate, to clear our hearts, clear our minds. And so we developed an acronym, and if you feel like writing this down, great. If you don't, that's fine. I would be remiss if I didn't share it with you. This tool that we use that we teach young people to use to prevent crisis from becoming a catastrophe. How do I prevent crisis from becoming a catastrophe in the moment? It's important that we remember that this too shall pass. This temporary moment does not have to be settled on permanent solutions. This too shall pass, and PASS is an acronym that I want to share with you all that I hope you can remember and use. It simply means pause, air, or get some air, the A is air, and seek safety. SS, PASS, pause, take time to think. Most of the time when we make, without even thinking choices, it ends up badly for us or somebody else around us. Take time to think. The A is air, get some air. When life takes your breath away, you have to take your breath back. And I'm going to teach you a really quick breathing exercise that we teach young people. In fact, pre-COVID, when I was traveling around the country, sharing this with young people, I got a message from a young lady shortly after I was in her school in New Jersey. She inboxed me and she said, I want to thank you. I want to say that I have a very close friend with severe anxiety. I'm reading this off my phone. And yesterday I walked in on her having a panic attack. I noticed that she wouldn't stop scratching her neck, which I knew would eventually get dangerous. I wasn't sure what to do until I remembered the breathing exercise you taught in your workshop. It almost immediately slowed her breathing, and she later told me that the fact that it kept her hands busy was a life changer. I just want to say thank you for that, because it finally gave me a way to help a friend who I've had to watch struggle for years, not knowing what to do. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. So I want to teach it to you really quickly. It's simple, super easy. Some of you may have heard of, use it, or may have heard of it. It's 5-finger tracing, and you simply take your hand and you trace it slowly. And as you're going up your finger, you inhale through your nose. And as you're going down, you exhale through your mouth. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Now, I do that every morning when I wake up with both hands. Takes about 20 seconds to get through it. I do that every morning just so I have it at the front of my mind and not the back of my mind. So that when I'm in a moment of crisis, because my life is far from perfect, I have it right there at my disposal. So whether you're about to take a test and you're freaking out, or you're in an argument with somebody, or you see something on social media, or somebody texts you some nonsense on your phone, when you feel your heartbeat going up, your breath, all that stuff escalating, de-escalate it by using that breathing, simple breathing exercise. So pause, get some air, and then seek safety. Seeking safety is simply safe people, safe places, or safe things. Safe people you can go to and talk to. Safe places you can go, whether it's your bedroom, whether it's taking a walk in a park, sitting by a pond because it'll calm you down. Or maybe it's a formal place like a community center, or a faith-based organization, or even mental health services, wherever that safe place is. And then safe things to do, activities that lift you up and make you feel good, whether it's painting, writing, journaling, exercise, playing basketball, positive, healthy activities that are safe and healthy and re-energize you. Pause, get some air, seek safety. We don't have all the answers as adults, and we apologize. Again, I apologize for the position that we have put you in. My hope is that you take everything that you're hearing today and activate it in your life. And I remind you that my hope and my optimism about the future is in you. You're the "we have had enough" generation, and I'm thankful our future and our today is in your hands.
No doubt, no doubt. Thanks, Javi. Right now, what I want to do is just talk about the importance of just taking care of yourself. And Bryn touched on that a little bit earlier, but I don't want to talk about it. Actually, I actually want to hear, or we want to hear from the young people. If you have any ideas, or if you have any ways that we can assist you in helping with that. So I just kind of want to hear from the young people. This is what this is for. This is, we want to hear from you guys. Like Javi said, y'all are the experts, and everybody on this call is in a service position. The council members, myself, Javi, everybody, we're in service. So what that means is that it's not you guys' job to make us feel comfortable, right? And you also have the right to critique us, and you should always feel like you can critique us, because we are in roles where we're supposed to be serving and helping you, just like police officers are supposed to be in roles to serve and protect you. And Bryn said a fact earlier that I'm glad she brought up. But as far as we go, we're supposed to serve and protect you. So I just want to hear back from you guys, and let us know if there's anything that we can do, myself included.
Go ahead, Bryn.
Okay, so I have a lot of things to say, so I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible because I don't want to take up too much space. But yeah, I know everyone else on this call has very valid points to say also. So first, in response to Deborah, I just want to say, I know it is very hard to find hope, and something that I think about a lot is looking back on past generations, thinking of how gay rights was something like the fact that that took so long for there to be marriage equality as recently as 2015, that took a long time, but it did happen, and there's still progress to be made. And thinking about the civil rights movement and how we used to not even be able to drink at the same water fountains as white people, but now that's different in a sense. But there's still racism, and that's not to say to minimize what we go through now, but I wanted to say that, like, look at past generations and change has been made, but there's always progress. So that's something that gives me hope. And then I also want to say that there are 3 quotes that really help me, and I feel like they can help all of you on this call. The first one is by Friedrich Nietzsche. He is a philosopher. Basically, this is the quote: "He who has a why can bear almost anyhow." And that basically just means if you have a purpose, if you have a meaning, you can get through anything. And I truly believe that you can. The second one is from this book, Eden, by John Steinbeck. He's also the author of Mice and Men. And it's this: "And now that you don't have to be perfect, you can be good." And that's something I use every day, that, like, we don't have to be perfect. You do not have to be perfect. You do not have to be somebody who makes adults uncomfortable, like Beta said, but you can be good, and you can choose to do good and be the good that you want to see. And the last one is, "And in the end, it gets better. If it's not better, it's not the end." And I just want to say, like, thinking about, like, in the past, everything has gotten better in a sense. And I don't want to be toxically positive, because there's still change, but I want to say that we have seen progress. Even though it may feel minute, there has been change. And so I just wanted to share that with you so that I can hopefully offer a glimpse of hope. And then, like, with what Jalon said about athletes, yes, I agree, and thank you for bringing that up, because men make up 70% of the suicide rate. And not only, like, do we need to talk about mental health, we need to talk about male mental health too, and really amplify that you are not weak. You are not weak, and your life can look perfect. Like, how many celebrities have we seen whose lives looked perfect? Like, Kurt Cobain had money and was in a successful band, and he still completed suicide. And I hate the narrative that if you have things and you're privileged, that if you have things that you can't be suicidal, because you can. And thank you for bringing that up, because even as athletes, your bodies are valid, because schools will use your bodies to win games and stuff. But then when it comes to your brain, they don't care. And thank you for bringing that up, because your life matters and your mind is valid. And then I want to say, what with what Landon was saying, like, yes, I'd say one of the solutions is to implement more after school programs, like Boys and Girls Clubs, so that the youth have something to do, so that they're not falling into peer pressure, and also making sure that they know how to resist falling into that peer pressure, because that's a huge thing. And as Tupac once said, like, the hate you give little infants F's everybody. And that's something that, like, a lot of this stuff is learned, and we need, like, help unlearning that and giving our youth something to do. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was what Daniel was saying about the criminalization of Black youth. Yes, I 100% agree. And I'm somebody who's been on the other side. I've always been the teacher's pet, or the goody two shoes, and I have noticed that too. Like the fact of how we treat class clowns or kids who are disruptive. And I've heard of teachers telling them, like, those same class clowns, like, you're never going to make it, you're not going to graduate high school. And that is an atrocity that needs to be talked about, because what was I going to say about that? And the criminalization of Black youth, like, the way we treat these class clowns as, like, they're disruptive, they're burdens in the classroom, but we don't really ask, like, well, why are they like that? What can we do to help? Maybe they're trying to tell us something, but they don't really have the resources to communicate that. And I want to say thank you, Daniel, for bringing that up, because that's a very important point of how we view each other. And and that's something like teachers too, like, they view the good kids as people who are trustworthy, who are believable. But with the quote unquote bad kids, no kid is a bad kid. No kid is a bad kid. They're just misunderstood, really. And we need to have that framework and that dialogue with teachers, where we're saying, okay, sure, this kid is, sometimes they make jokes at immature times, or whatever, it doesn't matter. If they're telling you something that is going on. You need to believe them, and we need to help them too. And with that, I'm done.
Really quickly, I want to ask a question towards one of the board members. What are things, I mean, what are resources for mental health that you guys are trying to put into schools? As someone who struggled with mental health, I haven't really had the right resources, such as counseling, especially due to COVID-19 and being at home. I didn't really have access to my counselors. I didn't really have access to therapists because I'm someone who comes from a low-income background. What are resources that you guys are trying to implement into schools?
I'm glad you asked that, Mustafa, because we are starting to focus on that in earnest. And I know it sounds hollow to you all, because I know that you have not felt like you were adequately served. And I think Council President Harden said it accurately when he said we failed you. As it turns out, Dr. Pierce and I are heading up a culture and climate committee that we're just starting to create. And that is something that we are going to focus on in very seriously. And I think, to answer your question, we're hoping to do much more partnering with Children's Hospital and providing mental health services. We're also looking to take seriously the implementation of restorative justice practices throughout the building to create a better climate, as well as more thorough and implementation of trauma-informed practices with fidelity. I can say, because I taught in Columbus for many years, that I know that we say we're doing certain things and sometimes we don't always deliver them with the depth and the effectiveness that is required to really make a difference in your lives. So we have those things firmly in focus. Last night, actually, at our board meeting, we committed to making them part of our 5-year strategic plan. But again, I cannot emphasize enough how I realize this all sounds like, the same old hollow words. So I don't want to keep saying them, but it's occurring to me, and I'm sure Dr. Pierce would agree, that we can move from this conversation to try to create some ongoing committee work where we have your voices, because the other thing that is entirely clear is that you all have the answers. The truth and the thoughtfulness and the common sense things that you have all said are really spot on, and we need you to help lead the way, or to lead the way, quite honestly. And so I'm sure that Dr. Pierce would agree with me, as well as Councilwomen Favor and Brown, that this should be the beginning of something that we can work jointly on to make sure we get you better mental health services, among other things, and other programs. But you had another question?
Can I just add to that one? Mustafa, I know you're a Metro student, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes, so I have been in conversation with some teachers over there to talk about ways that we can collaborate to get you all resources, not just for mental health, but to also discuss many of the issues that are facing our students of color. So I know recently you all started a BIPOC group, Black, Indigenous people of color. And so my goal is not only a member of the Columbus Board of Education, but I'm also a trustee for the Ohio School Board Association. And in that role, I am responsible for representing the students, not just in Columbus City Schools, but in the Central Ohio region. And so know that in that regard, we are working with your administrators and teachers to get you the resources that you need for mental health, but also with the issues that you may face being a marginalized and underrepresented student population.
I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you so much to Ms. Pierce and Ms. Carroll. Really quickly, I just want to say this is kind of a broad question to both council members and board members. what are ways that we as students can help work with you guys, because these are things that's happening directly towards us, and it's usually you guys working with our administrators and not really with us. So it's not like our voices are being heard, it's our administrators, and I feel like if you guys are listening to us directly, it'll be easier to work out, you know?
Well, I appreciate the question. In fact, it's the reason why I created the Columbus Youth Council. And the first year of its inception was 2020, and we all know what 2020 was. It was created with the intent to provide students with the opportunity to engage with their elected officials, to learn about how government works, to interview directors, the mayor, to have these one-on-one conversations with folks that have the work that they do impacts your life very quickly, right? And unfortunately, we weren't able to truly see the fruition of Columbus Youth Council, but that has changed. And so that's one of the reasons why we wanted to kick off the season, if you will, with this youth town hall. Now, we had no idea that we would be here in this space today. It's National Student Leader Week. And so this felt like the perfect week to have this conversation. But whether or not you all apply and want to participate on Youth Council, I'm committed, and I know I don't want to speak on her behalf, but Councilmember Brown chairs our Education Committee. We're committed to continuing these conversations and engagement. And so there's going to be plenty of opportunities to continue this type of engagement. We did it with the city. We can do it with you all.
And so I don't want to. We're coming up on the time, the end time, and I do want to say, I know we're trying to wrap things up, but I do want to make sure that we've heard from every young person, and if there's anything else that any of the other young people want to say, as kind of like some last remarks, I do want to just make sure that we get to that, and then we do have a resource sheet that Mrs. Burks is going to go ahead and share. But right now, I want to see if there's any young people that want to say some last remarks, any of the other young people.
I would like to say something.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm Kaden Younger from Centennial, and another thing to add to what people were saying about peer pressure and things like that, I think it's about time that schools start to add in things like groups, like not just Boys and Girls Club, but like things like outside of school, because sometimes it's hard to like get away from like the bad things that your friends and like your peers are doing around you, and sometimes it's hard to talk to your parents about that type of things because they're not young, and like, it's not to call them old, but it's been a while since they were your age and things have changed in time. So I think it's best that there starts being groups where like kids can start getting away from not parental supervision to where they can do bad things that parents are expecting them to do, but to where they can do fun things, where they can get away from the bad things that they're expected to do and start doing good things and have fun, but not have to feel the gaze of a teacher or like a parent who's expecting them to do something wrong.
So I work for a program called Youth to Youth International, and it's a drug prevention program, and it's actually a program that helped me when I was in high school as well. So if you want some more information about that, I'll make sure that I speak to the people I need to speak to get you that information, and that's basically what we do. I mean, I'm old, but I'm still cool. So if you want to participate in some of the things that we got going on, and I'm sure we have other resources too that we can share, but yeah, so if you're interested in that, then I'll make sure that I get your information and get some of that stuff to you.
Thank you. Councilman Favor, can I just make one comment? Because again, I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you for allowing me to be in this space and to hear from all the young people. But I also want to just make a comment because I do have to go to another meeting that's focused on Black girls as to what has just happened yesterday. But I want to just say something to Deborah, that Deborah, you know, we hear you. And I think the comment you made about Black girls don't feel safe anywhere and that, you know, don't necessarily have a voice. And I just want to share that the Commission on Black Girls heard from 422 Black girls in the city of Columbus for 2 years, and they shared with us what their issues and concerns happened to be. They took surveys. We were on focus groups to hear from girls' voices, and from that, so that we did not want to waste people's time by sharing what their issues were, we have created the Commission on Black Girls. It's now a permanent entity in the city of Columbus, so that you shared information. We heard you, and we want to be able to continue to support you, as well as there are organizations that are just for girls that certainly with the through Councilmember Favor's office and working with Mr. Azim, if there are, we do have a list of organizations that certainly Black girls can participate in for leadership skills and certainly avenues for continuing to focus on mental health. So we have organizations focused for Black girls. I just want to give that as a resource. And also lastly, to say that for each of you, we love you, we hear you, and we want to continue to help you to be the best version of you. Whatever we need to do to support you, we're here for you. Thank you. And again, I need to scoot off to go to this other meeting, but thank you for allowing me to listen and look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thank you. And Landon, I know you got cut off, not cut off purposely, but I know I thought I heard you trying to say something. So Landon, if you want to say something real fast, go ahead.
This statement would be directed towards Ms. Pierce. I believe I say that your job or the role that you play is you advocate for the students, and not only Columbus City students, but students in the state. One thing I feel like that also contributes to how we respond to certain situations, when I say we, I mean people of color, is the way that we're taught, like in schools. And one thing it is, like my personal experience just growing up in history classes, it seems to be like a large area of things that I'm taught about people of color through the history books. And when it comes towards, they talk about wars and things, it's always, it seems, it either tells either the wrongs that we've done or it speaks on oppression. And I feel like one of those things that needs to change, or a change that needs to happen, that will benefit us in our mindset of who we are as people of color, is the fact that we need to implement new history, like if it has to be new history books or just new books in general that are put into play to be educated, like to teach and to read out of, because of I just feel like when it comes towards the things that we're taught in school, people of color, it always has, like I said, it has to do with oppression or something that we've done wrong. So one thing I feel like needs to change is what it is that the students are taught. We need to hear about the victories and the battles that were fought in Africa for the betterment of the law. We need to hear about the fact that we, like, the great architecture that's still around today that people find that in museums. Who built that? What was the skin tone of the people that built that? What was the color of the great minds that did that? Instead of me going to school and I have to take an African American studies class just to figure out the good things of my culture, why is it that in history class, when we're supposed to be talking about world history, I'm not taught about the world history that has to do with people of color that's a victory instead of a loss? So one thing, cause I know time's running short, and I know this set portion of it was supposed to be what we feel like can help fix things. One thing I feel like can help fix things is, one, bringing in the education system, bringing in a new way of teaching in history classes, where it's not necessarily the only time that victories are taught is majority white faces or white skin tone. or the majority of people that have been successful in this world, despite anything that tried to stop them, is a majority white. And it's to show we became oppression. Oppression isn't the only thing that people of color have went through. We had success before, and we've had success after. And then,
I thank you so much for that comment, and I know we're short on time. I am the chair of our newly created academic committee for Columbus City Schools, and you are 100% correct. Our curriculum does need to be revamped, redesigned. What I will say is I encourage you all to reach out to me directly, tpierce@columbus.k12.oh.us. My cell phone number is also on our school district website. I think Daniel can speak to this because he was one of my students over at COS. I'm extremely responsive. There's a number of ways that students can engage in our board committees, that you all can share your feedback with me and my colleagues. So please reach out to me directly via email, via cell phone, and definitely let's keep this conversation going. And also let's get to do the work. Let's start taking action to make the change that we need to see.
Go ahead, Daniel. I know you had your hand up for a while. So, and after Daniel, we're going to go ahead and put up the resource sheet for everybody. So go ahead, Daniel.
I just got an alert on my phone about another shooting earlier today. Another unarmed black man, father of 10, down in North Carolina. Andrew Brown, Elizabeth City. He had no gun on him, no gun in the car. It was a warrant for his vehicle, and he was shot during the search. Stuff like this that makes me, very angry while we're reeling from an attack that just happened yesterday. And we're reeling from attacks. We're so reacting. It's like we never get a time to catch our breath. We don't have time to relax. Right now, my heart is beating really hard just because I was like, as I said, we don't have time to catch our breath. It just happens. It's repetitive. It happens over and over again. I know one thing that could improve the situation. As me, I'm a guy who likes numbers. One thing that could improve the situation is that there's a correlation chart between poverty and crime rates. People think that we need the police to reduce crime rates. Okay, so well then, let's invest money into minimalizing poverty to the best of our ability. How do we minimize poverty to the best of our ability? We implicate progressivist, populist techniques, populist programs, institutions that will help people of lower income, the lowest income, be able to have a higher standard of living. I know that there have been some of those such progressivist and populist pushes in the last 2 or 3 years. That is something that's very encouraging to me. I think that the funding for any municipality, the majority of funding should be diverted towards the people and not towards their law enforcement or towards the enforcement of law upon other people. I know it's a very controversial topic, how much the United States spends on their military, the multi-billion-dollar industry there. I know it's a controversial topic how much Columbus itself spends on the police force. I believe the projected police force, I have this number on my laptop, is $352 million for the year 2021, $336 million for the year 2021 in expenditures for the city of Columbus, right? For public service, 740,000. And this is the city of Columbus 2021 proposed operating budget. It's not a news website. This is not rumor. I just put it up. I just want us to be able to sit there and know we're talking about ways that we can make this better, ways that we can improve. A lot of that's going to come from the numbers, and a lot of that's going to come from the money. It's going to come from where we divert our funding. And the CCS has their own funding plan. It's not as incorporated with the city of Columbus as people often think. I'm well aware of that. But in terms of what we do with our police, I think we have to think about that.
Thank you so much, Daniel. And man, listen, and we're going to go ahead and put this resource sheet up for you guys. But I do want to say, I know we're over time, and I always been bad at staying on schedule. But I want to say, I'm blown away by every young person that's been on this call. I mean, listen, I said it earlier, you guys' job is not to make any of us feel comfortable. That is not your job. Your job is, and I'll also say this, any change in this country that ever was made, and any movements that ever started in this country to bring about change was not done by adults. All of those changes were led by young people. Okay. So you guys, like Javi said, don't wait on the cavalry. Don't wait on us. Okay. You guys have to make these things happen. Sonia Sanchez said, you know, I'm wondering what to say to you now. And she told my generation, you know, where is your fire? Catch your fire, right? And that's what I'm going to say to you young people right now is you guys need to catch your fire. You need to catch your own fire. You have the ability to save yourself and to save everybody. It's so many brilliant minds on here. All of you guys have such beautiful, brilliant minds. I'm going to make sure that I contact all of you individually and lend my hand in any way that I can help. Any ideas or any things that you guys want. I know Mustafa said earlier, you know, what can, you know, he was asking us how we can help. No, you don't stop asking. Stop asking for our help. You need to tell us. You guys have the power to tell us what you want. You tell us what you want us to do. Don't ask for help. You demand it. You demand what you want. And that's how you guys are going to get things done. So again, I appreciate every one of you for being on this call. And you know, hopefully we can build from this. And Ms. Burks, I don't know if you have that resource sheet to put up for everybody on the call.
As Ms. Burks is working to provide the resource sheet, let me just say thank you to Mr. Azim, Mr. Sanchez, to Mr. Green, to our school board members, to our mental health professionals, and most importantly, to the youth that have taken time out of their day, a moment when they have every right to be grieving, to be venting, and I just want to say thank you. I know that it's not enough, but please don't lose hope. Please don't lose hope. You take the time that you need, you reach out to whoever you need to reach out to, but we need you. Your life matters. If you haven't heard it today, your life matters. I believe in each and every one of you. You all have my contact information. Never hesitate to reach out to me, to my colleagues. So with that, this will conclude our conversation tonight, but it's not over. So I look forward to engaging with you all further, and please take care of yourselves. Have a good evening.